Welcome to another edition of Chomp Chat, a mental health conversation worth having. On this episode, we introduce you to two lacrosse players that play a pivotal role in carrying forward Morgan's Message, a program that looks to eliminate the stigma surrounding mental health. The new Director of Mental Health and Wellness for the University of Florida Athletic Association, Dr. Nicole Karcinski, also joins the conversation to share her experiences with providing mental health care to college athletes.
All right, welcome in, Gators. My name is Dennis, and I'll be your host today for Chomp Chat, a mental health conversation worth having. And joining me today is Dr. Nicole Karcinski, Director of Mental Health and Wellness here at the Athletic Department, Liz Harrison, and Bree Katz of our Florida Gator lacrosse program. Gators, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
First off, I'd like you guys to introduce yourself. Dr. Nicole, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hello. I am Nicole Karcinski. I am the Director of Mental Health at Florida Athletics. I have been here for just 4 months, and I'm very excited to take on this role and see where we can grow the mental health and wellness program. Prior to being here, I was at student health psychiatry for 15 years and have 2 degrees from Florida, so I am a true Florida Gator.
Perfect. Liz?
Hi, I'm Liz Harrison. I'm a senior here at UF. I'm a draw specialist and born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I just love being a Gator. I did not want to be a Bulldog. So I'm thankful that I just got into the master's program here, so I will be a double Gator. So go Gators.
And Bree?
Hi, I'm Bree Katz. I'm a junior advertising major here at UF. I am a defender on the women's lacrosse team, and like Liz, I'm a fellow Morgan's Message ambassador, also from Atlanta, Georgia. So me and Liz have known each other for many years now. Blessed to have the opportunity to do this with her, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're certainly excited to talk today about mental health, and our topic today is something that's very close to the lacrosse community, and that's Morgan's Message. Liz, would you like to just describe a little bit about what that message is?
Yeah, so Morgan's Message is the idea that everything's a little bit bigger than sports. It's bigger than just playing a game. It's about community. It's about spreading the ability to talk to your peers and know that you have a voice and that you can use it and you have a community that's here for you.
And Bree, can you just tell us who Morgan was?
Yeah, Morgan was a player on the Duke's women's lacrosse team. She suffered an injury and did not win the mental health battle against that. And unfortunately, she took her own life. And then Morgan's Message was created by her parents to advocate for the student athlete mental health and create a conversation that's bigger and throughout the nation.
And it's been going on for a few years now. How important has it been in the lacrosse community since it was so close to a lot of players in this sport?
I think it's important in the lacrosse community knowing that we're not alone. Knowing that Morgan went through what she went through really creates that conversation of, okay, what can we do better? How can we create that conversation that this doesn't happen again? And just from the lacrosse community, I think it ties us all together closer as we try to advocate for this mental health.
And Dr. Karcinski, just how does this play a role in the student athlete's experience that they know that they have a place to talk about this sort of mental health experience?
So I think the benefit of having an organization like Morgan's Message and other organizations in sport like this is touching on the idea that this is not a unique experience. And so in this community, we oftentimes just focus on the performance aspect and tend to forget about the person that is underneath the athlete. And so Morgan's Message, I think, allows for us to have conversations about who we are as complete people and recognizing what happens underneath the injury, which is very outward facing and everybody notices, but we don't always know what's going on underneath.
And Bree, you mentioned it. I think the biggest thing is it's the alone. Feeling alone that, hey, this is only happening to me. How important is this message to make sure everyone knows that they aren't alone?
Mm-hmm. Morgan's Message is so important just to build that community. I know there's so many ambassadors all across the nation amongst all Division I, Division II, Division III players. And it's just important to build that community, know that we're all together and fighting for the same mental health battle.
And Liz, can you talk about the ambassador program?
Yeah, well, real quick to piggy off that, I think people don't realize that, like you said, the stats and everything are what people see. And, people see, oh, it's working hard. But like when you get injured, you kind of get pushed to the side a little bit. Your coaches are so focused on the players who are on the field, and your trainers are focused on keeping them healthy and stuff. And I mean, even myself being injured and knowing some girls who are injured, you kind of get shoved to the side. And so bringing this awareness to like teammates, just really support them. And, I know Bree and I make an effort to, a couple of girls have concussions on our team or some injuries, and it's like, make them feel like they're still part of the team, make sure you check on them, because it's easy to get checked out. So the Morgan's Message Ambassador Program is huge. One of our coaches got involved, and she's a huge advocate for mental health and checking on your players. And we joke around that she's the super personal one who's always kind of fist bumping and asking how's your day and stuff. But she's kind of the one who got us involved in the ambassador program. It started with like this huge group chat being made on GroupMe, and everyone sends, hey, this is going on at my college, or hey, this is going on my team, and so just had this, and so, and everyone's just sharing what's going on. And it makes you feel like, problems that are going on at our college are happening all across the country. And, we all have the ability to check in on each other, and it kind of raises that voice. So a couple of people on our team are ambassadors, but it's grown bigger as to a couple of my friends are also ambassadors, but not on sports teams. So it's grown outside of just women's lacrosse.
And then Dr. Karcinski, just how important is it to continue to build the community where there is a community feel and a safe landing place?
I think having it at each university just across the country gives the specific athletes at a school the opportunity to know that there is a place in their home that can support them. Continuing to make sure that Morgan's Message, I think, lives on after Liz graduates and after Bree graduates, like making sure that other teammates have that same passion and understanding about the importance of sharing the message regarding mental health. And also just really, I think, speaking to the Instagram reel that you guys did of just the need to talk very openly and directly about suicide prevention.
As an athlete, you grew up playing sports, you gotta, show up for every game. How important is it to maybe be vulnerable, to say, hey, I need some help, and recognize that? And how does Morgan's Message kind of play into that?
I think it's really, really important to be vulnerable and to be open, especially amongst your teammates, because I can speak for myself. Many of my teammates do not know what's going on in my personal life unless if I'm open and vulnerable about it. I could be struggling, one of my teammates could be struggling about a test or something in the family that's going on, and it may affect your performance. And it gets to the point where the coaches are noticing, and then your performance is down because of your mental health. So being open and vulnerable, especially amongst your team and your friends and your coaches, at least, like, there's a conversation about it, and it just promotes that communication.
One great thing about Morgan's Message is if you go to their website, there are plenty of programming opportunities with podcasts or information about the ambassador program. And I think most importantly, just educational programs where people can feel comfortable going and checking out what is available. And then their vision statement is just, I think first and foremost is eliminating the stigma. So how important is that as you guys carry forward this message?
I mean, the stigma is huge to eliminate. Like Bree said, being vulnerable is huge. And I think the athletes are told, be tough, don't show emotions, lock into your sport. And I mean, coming from Georgia, I know Bree and I, we felt like the big fish in a small pond. And you get to a team like this and everyone's the big fish. And you hold on to your performance as being your identity. And you get here and you're like, oh, I don't have that. Like, what's going on? So it does get hard. It does get emotional. I mean, I remember my freshman year was really tough until I started figuring out there's more to lacrosse. There's more to that. So eliminating the stigma that you have to hold it all in and rely on your sport being your identity is huge.
If I could just add to, I think the the resourcing that we could have here at Florida, what I'm really looking forward to working on is just a proactive approach. And so when we have connections with athletes, those of us on staff, when we have programs that are proactive and talk about mental health literacy, where to go if you're experiencing an issue. I think being that vulnerable, if you recognize me, if I've been at a space in one of your spaces, or I've introduced myself at a practice, or you know who I am, I think it decreases that tension of not knowing who you're going to meet, what they look like, what they might be like, what their personality is. And I think that stigma of just also who the mental health provider is, and not having a sense of like, who is gonna be these people, right? And so I think continuing to kind of grow those relationships too are really important, so that when I walk into a room, there's not threat. No one's concerned about what my role there is besides just supporting you all.
I love that, because I know growing up, therapy was always used as like a threatening, like, oh, like, oh, you're going to need therapy and all that. And I remember my junior year, I started seeing a therapist, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever experienced. And I feel like athletes, again, being tough and stuff, and growing up and hearing like therapy was a bad thing. Like therapy was something's wrong with you if you need to go to therapy, or you're not dealing with it healthy if you need to go to therapy. And, bringing awareness that it's okay that, a lot of our athletes, a lot of my friends see a therapist, and it's healthy. It's a conversation. It's just, it's another tool in your toolbox. So again, I think it's a great idea to get some faces involved, and I'm super excited to have Nicole to bring awareness to it.
And I think one of the tough things is whether you're transitioning because you've graduated or you're suffering an injury, I think it's tough for a lot of athletes to identify something other than an athlete. Can you talk about that and how it's your whole life, and it's been your whole life for a really long time, and when that's kind of taken away, it's super tough to identify yourself with being something else?
Yeah, I can talk on this one. So in high school, like Liz said, we're from Georgia. Lacrosse isn't that big, so we were the big stars. We were all top of that. I will speak for myself, and I was very, very heavy on my performance, being athletic, being that lacrosse player. That was like my role. Once I got here, I noticed all 45 of us, that was their role as well. So once lacrosse was everyone else's thing, not just my thing, there was nothing else to me. And I quickly realized that was my whole personality, that was my whole persona, and I had to change that really quickly in order to shift my mental health and to progress it and in a positive light. So I developed more hobbies, I joined therapy, like Liz said. I actually joined it in my sophomore year, and things have gone better, but I think it is very important to not have just your performance be based on your mental health, have other things involved with your personality and other things other than your sport involved in your life.
And now, obviously you couldn't see Bree's face, but you smiled when you said you're something other than a lacrosse player. Like, was that kind of freeing for you? Like, hey, I came up with a hobby, or I can separate, my competitive side to who I would like to be off the field.
Oh, it's very, very freeing. I have a therapist, and she told me this one analogy where if you're in a school bus, you have one person that enters the bus at a time. And when you're on the lacrosse field, the person driving your bus is your sports person. Once that practice is over, let that person leave the bus. Have your academic side, your student side drive that bus now. So it's very important just to shift your personalities, that you're not always going to have that sports athlete drive the bus the entire day, the entire life.
So how pleasing is that from a director of mental health to have her sit here and talk about that?
Could you see my smile? Yeah, I think, on my interview here, thinking about like what was the reason to just come all in on working exclusively with athletes. And the one thing that just brings me so much joy and fulfills me just from my role is having you all see yourself as more than just the athlete. And so that you're multidimensional, that when you can step away, right? Like you let your athlete side step off your bus, that the other parts of you are just as important, and that you can attach to them, right? That they're not foreign, that you don't, some people don't even know that there's other pieces to them, right? When I ask a question about, you're a daughter, you're a sister, a brother, a sibling, an aunt, whatever, the they don't see themselves in those roles. All they can really think about is themselves as an athlete. Even sometimes thinking about yourself as an academic, even though that's what you're here to, is really hard for other people for you to see about yourself. Yeah.
And it's hard when the performance, sometimes a coach cares about is your performance on that field. Sometimes they'll say they care about your grades, they care about that stuff. But at the end of the day, did you pick up that ball or not? Did you do that or not? So, I completely agree with both of you guys.
And kind of that's a good transition back to the field. Just Morgan's message. There's a match that's identified as that specific game. Can you talk about that for the Gators, and what did you guys do to recognize Morgan?
Yeah, so in previous years, we've usually given a speech on the field just so that people and fans and spectators kind of know what that is. This year, we put together a video that highlighted people who've been affected by mental health, whether it be them themselves or a close friend or family member. And, when we open that question up, there's a couple of people who are going to kind of blow right by and it doesn't sit with them. And there's a couple of people that they could give you an hour-long speech about how it's affected them. So we kind of had the opportunity to pick out some people who were willing to speak on that. We made shirts with the iconic teal butterfly logo, and it has a semicolon in the middle, which means, an injury, a little mental block is not, it shouldn't be the end. It should just be a pause. It should be a moment to step back, reflect, and you're going to get right back in there.
What's your hope moving forward, kind of in conclusion here, to continue having open dialogue?
Yeah, my hope is that it just grows bigger and bigger every year with every program. I mean, being in the group me with all the ambassadors, it's so amazing to hear what all these other colleges are doing just to advocate for mental health, especially in the student-athlete area. I think with Morgan's message, as we go into the future, I think it will start to lean more into just regular students and just people of all over, regardless if you're an athlete, regardless if you're just a student, because everyone is dealing with something, whether it's in your family, personally, everyone's dealing with something. You never know what that could be.
Mm-hmm. And while it is a lacrosse-started organization, the concepts apply for everyone. It's just be a good person, check in on your friends, make sure everyone's okay. Don't just kind of say, I'm good when you're not good. It's, again, we're trying to eliminate that stigma that you don't have to be okay.
Doctor, just moving forward, how hopeful are you that these Gators are carrying forward a global message?
I'm really excited to connect further with the lacrosse team, talk about what we can do next year for the dedication game, and then also see, is there other programming or initiatives that we can be doing throughout the year, like some of the ideas that you mentioned, Bree, that can be supporting Morgan's message or any of the educational mental health literacy concepts that they have in their programming.
Well, Dr. Karcinski, Bree, Liz, thanks a lot for joining us today to talk about Morgan's message. And thank you, the listener, for joining Chomp Chat, a mental health conversation worth having.
Thanks for joining today's Chomp Chat. For more information on Morgan's Message, you can visit their website, morgansmessage.org. And if you or someone you know is struggling, help is available. If you are a UF student athlete, you can seek mental health services through UAA Mental Health and Wellness. For everyone else, you can find resources at psychologytoday.com or findtreatment.gov.